Sarah Ferguson has reportedly fled the luxury Austrian wellness retreat that she once called her sanctuary, and according to new reports circulating through royal circles, she is leaning heavily on wealthy friends for somewhere to stay after her private location was exposed to the public. The former Duchess of York had been keeping an extraordinarily low profile inside a £2,000 per night apartment nestled in the Austrian Alps. But once photographs emerged showing exactly where she was staying, that carefully guarded private escape appears to have come to an abrupt and unavoidable end. And now the fundamental question that royal watchers everywhere are asking themselves is straightforward but deeply intriguing. Where does Sarah Ferguson go next? And perhaps more pressingly, who is paying for it? For many months before her discovery, Sarah had largely vanished from public view, seemingly determined to keep herself away from the cameras and the relentless scrutiny that has defined so much of her adult life. Reports indicate she had been out of sight for 213 days before she was finally photographed at the Mare Life Wellness Spa located in Altaussee near Salzburg. This was not some modest countryside retreat or a quiet family property. This was a high-end medical spa establishment, widely known throughout Europe for its luxury treatments, exceptional privacy, and the wealthy international guests who come seeking refuge from their own public lives. The reported cost of her apartment was £2,000 per night, which calculates to approximately £14,000 per week. That is a serious financial commitment for anyone, but especially so for someone who has repeatedly faced awkward public questions about money over the course of many years. According to the reports, Sarah was not mingling casually with other guests by the pool, or strolling through the lobby engaging in small talk. Instead, she mostly stayed secluded inside her suite, ordering room service and deliberately keeping away from all communal areas of the resort. In other words, she appears to have been making a conscious effort to stay completely unseen. That strategy actually worked quite effectively, until it didn't. Once newspapers published photographs showing definitively that she was there, reports suggest her carefully constructed safe haven had been thoroughly compromised. Shortly after those images became public, she reportedly left the resort and began reaching out to friends for help with her next move. One source quoted in the report said, "Sarah has good friends. People who know her well are happy to help her. She won't be left with nowhere to go." That may very well be true, but it also tells you something important about her current situation. If your next step depends entirely on the kindness of friends, then things may not be as secure behind the scenes as they once looked during better times. And this is precisely where the story becomes even more interesting and complex, because this was not merely a casual holiday retreat or a temporary spa getaway. This was the very same spa that Sarah had praised publicly in the past. During an earlier stay in 2023, following her cancer diagnosis, she recorded a promotional video for the resort and described it in remarkably personal terms as a safe place, a sanctuary, and probably one of the only places in the world where I can just be Sarah. That is quite a statement to make about any location, and it suggested something significant. The resort had clearly become far more than a wellness center in her mind. It had become a refuge, a sanctuary in the truest sense, somewhere she could escape the endless headlines, the constant pressure and the relentless scrutiny that has been permanently attached to the York name throughout her entire public existence. But sanctuaries only retain their power and purpose if nobody knows where they are located. And once her location became public knowledge, reports suggest the entire arrangement was effectively finished. Now there is another critical layer to this story, and it is one that many royal watchers will already suspect is coming: the question of money, and how her lifestyle is being financed. Reports say it is entirely unclear how Sarah funded her recent stay at this luxury establishment. That uncertainty has directly fueled fresh speculation, because Sarah's personal finances have long been the subject of intense media attention and scrutiny. Over the years, she has written numerous books, made television appearances, signed various media deals, and launched several commercial ventures attempting to generate income. But she has also faced very public financial troubles, significant debt stories, and consistent criticism about her expensive lifestyle and spending habits. So when a woman reportedly staying in a £14,000 per week luxury retreat suddenly leaves and begins contacting wealthy friends to help her, people are naturally going to ask difficult questions about whether the money had finally started to run out. Royal commentator Tom Sykes, writing in the Daily Beast, reportedly made a claim that caught widespread attention. He said the idea that Sarah was financing an Austrian spa break entirely from her own pocket strains credulity. That is a remarkably sharp phrase, and it landed forcefully because it reflects what many people were already quietly wondering about her financial situation. He also reported that rumors were circulating about a possible book deal, perhaps a memoir or tell-all project that could bring in a substantial payday if it came to fruition. And if those rumors are true, that would fit a clear pattern we have observed before. Whenever Sarah Ferguson faces public controversy or financial pressure, there is often renewed speculation about interviews, memoirs, or commercial opportunities emerging shortly after. She has always been one of the most media-savvy figures connected to the royal family. Unlike more reserved royals who maintain distance from the press, Sarah has often spoken openly, reinvented herself publicly, and found sophisticated ways to remain in the headlines and in the public consciousness. Some admire that particular quality of resilience. Others see it quite differently. But either way, she has survived scandal after scandal by staying visible and engaging with the media rather than withdrawing from it entirely. The difficulty now is that this latest chapter is unfolding during a particularly bruising and damaging period for her reputation and public standing. Recent reports say Sarah has faced serious fallout because of renewed attention on her historical links to Jeffrey Epstein, and those connections have proven far more controversial than anyone anticipated. According to the articles emerging, a new release of documents by the United States Department of Justice in late January included substantial new details about her past friendship with Epstein and their interactions over time. The reports state those documents included emails in which she apologized to Epstein and referred to him explicitly as a supreme friend. That specific phrase caused significant outrage when it became public. There were also reports that she had taken her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, to visit Epstein following his release from a Florida jail in 2029. Now, it must be said, the articles do state that the emails did not indicate any wrongdoing on Sarah's part, but in royal scandals, public perception can move far faster than legal nuance or careful analysis, and the reputational damage appears to have been genuinely severe. According to reports, Sarah was dropped by multiple charities, a development that speaks volumes. Those charities named included Julius House, the Natasha Allergy Research Foundation, Prevent Breast Cancer, the Children's Literacy Charity, and the British Heart Foundation. That is a genuinely significant list of organizations. Charities are typically quite cautious institutions. They know reputation matters deeply, and they tend to act swiftly when controversy becomes too large to ignore or distance themselves from. Reports also state she lost the freedom of the city of York after councillors voted unanimously to remove the honor, a decision that carries profound symbolic weight. But symbols matter deeply in royal life, particularly titles, honors, patronages, and associations. These things form part of the essential currency of status and identity within royal circles, and when they begin disappearing one by one, the message becomes crystal clear. Then there is the personal side of all this, which adds emotional complexity to the story. Reports say Sarah is in constant contact with her daughters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, who are reported to be deeply concerned about the effect these recent events may be having on her mental health and well-being. That detail stands out as particularly significant, because beyond the headlines and the gossip and the scandal coverage, there is still a family trying to navigate public humiliation under the most intense scrutiny imaginable. Beatrice and Eugenie have generally remained publicly supportive of their mother throughout her many challenges. Through years of scandal, harsh criticism, and relentless tabloid attention, they have typically presented a united front to the world. That loyalty seems to remain unchanged even now. And if Sarah is currently moving quietly between trusted friends while staying deliberately out of sight, family support may matter more than ever before. Still, many royal watchers will notice something else that is conspicuously absent from the narrative. Where is Andrew in all this? Where is Prince Andrew? Sarah and Andrew have remained famously close despite their divorce. They have actually lived under the same roof at times, defended each other publicly, and maintained one of the most unusual post-divorce relationships in entire royal history. For years, people joked they were the divorced couple who never really separated at all. So if Sarah is relying on friends for accommodation, some observers will naturally ask why her ex-husband is not more visibly positioned as the obvious refuge and source of support. The reports do not answer that question directly, but it definitely adds another intriguing layer to an already highly unusual story. And there is one more striking detail that emerged from these reports. They say Sarah had been traveling around Europe since December following her last public appearance in the United Kingdom at her granddaughter Athena's christening. That paints a vivid picture of someone living quietly, moving discreetly between locations, and staying just out of reach of the cameras. Not settling anywhere permanently, not returning to normal public life, not stepping confidently back into royal circles where she once moved freely. Instead, drifting from one private space to another, one friend's home to another friend's villa. Always moving, never quite staying. That is a profoundly different image from the lively, outspoken Sarah Ferguson that many people remember from earlier decades. Back then, she was front-page material for entirely different reasons. The energetic redhead who married into the monarchy, charmed crowds, broke rules, and later built a compelling second act through books, television, and her own distinctive personality. She was messy at times, controversial at times, but never dull or forgettable. Now the tone feels noticeably darker. The woman who once embraced publicity is reportedly hiding from it. The woman who once sold access to her story may now desperately need another story to fund the next chapter of her life. And the woman who once called an alpine retreat her sanctuary has reportedly had to run from that too. It is a remarkable turn of events. Of course, some of these claims rely on unnamed sources and tabloid reporting, so it is fair to keep a reasonable degree of caution in mind. The exact details of her finances, travel plans, and living arrangements are not publicly confirmed in complete detail. But even allowing for that necessary caution, the broader picture is genuinely hard to ignore. Sarah Ferguson appears to be facing one of the most difficult periods of her entire public life. Her reputation has taken another substantial hit. Her charitable roles have reportedly fallen away entirely. Questions about money have returned with renewed intensity, and the privacy she sought in Austria has now vanished completely. So what happens next? Does she re-emerge with a new interview, a memoir, or some kind of comeback campaign? Does she remain quietly in the background, supported by friends and family, fading gradually from view? Or have we entered the final stage of Sarah Ferguson as a prominent public figure where glamour is gone and only damage control remains? With Sarah Ferguson, it is usually unwise to rule out another reinvention. She has surprised people before, often dramatically. But right now, the image is not one of reinvention or comeback. It is a retreat. And for someone who spent decades fighting to stay visible and relevant, who thrived on media attention and public engagement, that may very well be the most telling detail of all. What do you think about all this? Is Sarah Ferguson simply lying low until the storm passes and people forget about the Epstein connections? Or has the money and the options finally run out? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you enjoy royal updates with all the latest twists and turns and dramatic developments, make sure you subscribe before you go.